one is, in the UK, how does the process of electoral reform work, and what role do committees like the PACAC play in this process?
Thanks very much for that question. Let me first pass on the apologies of the chair of PACAC, Simon Hoare, who was scheduled to be on this. Unfortunately, he had an unavoidable conflict, and so he has asked me to deputise for him. In answer to your question, let me just quickly run through it. So in the UK system, both legislative and sort of policy electoral reform comes formally always from the government, or almost always. These proposals are then scrutinised in the Commons by PACAC because of our constitutional remit, and they may also at the moment be scrutinised by another committee, our sister committee, the Housing, Communities and Local Government Committee, because that happens to be where election policy currently sits. So we have departmental committees in the Commons. And then the legislation itself would also be scrutinised by either the whole House, so in the Chamber of the Commons, or in a public bill committee, again, which also takes evidence. So, for example, the last major piece of electoral reform legislation was the Elections Act 2022, and that was scrutinised by PACAC, with me working on that inquiry, and also by a public bill committee at the same time. And then once it's done that, it also goes to the House of Lords, which the Constitution Committee is likely to look at it, and it will be looked at as legislation. So that's kind of like the formal side of it, and that's how kind of the reform sort of finally takes place. However, legislation is only kind of the visible tip of the iceberg. There is, of course, a lot that goes on underneath this to bring legislation and reform about. This includes reviews of all elections by the Electoral Commission, reports and reviews done by other organisations such as the Association of Electoral Administrators, a number of other expert bodies, academics, who all kind of look at, in the UK, how elections are working, where perhaps